There were days that I would come home and say, what am I doing this stuff for? But by the following day, I was up for it. One of the beauties of the newspaper business is you had a new chance every single day, and you had the resources to be able to do this. So, and we covered so much. And because of its international reputation, particularly to the south of Miami, so I ended up personally having the chance to interview a lot of people. I spent time, have spent time with every president at one point or another in his life or career, from Richard Nixon through Joe Biden, including 2 long sessions with Donald Trump in the 90s. You had enormous access to people. Hurricane Andrew, were you here then?
No.
Okay. Was a huge thing in this community. It was, at that time, the largest natural disaster in terms of the costliness of it in the history of the United States of America. And all of a sudden, I mean, where we lived at that point, I think we had 21 trees down on our property, and it was an extraordinary development. But everybody was kind of in it together, and I can remember for 3 or 4 weeks delivering newspapers in parts of South Dade, because we were their only contact with what's actually going on here. And I lived a life where you had enormous access. You could make a difference. You could make a difference by exposing wrong, evil doing, but you could also make a difference by writing about people who were making a great difference. And if we live in a community, which we do, which is people like me, non-Hispanic white, are 15% of the population and only 12% of the 35,000 babies born a year. And if we live in a community where black and African American are not interchangeable here, we have tens of thousands of people who are black but not African American and may look at subjects like racism in a somewhat different way. And people would say, oh, I know also there are a lot of Cubans here, and 65% of the population here is Hispanic, but only half of that is Cuban American. There are huge populations of Dominicans, Colombians, and the list goes on and on. The paper could be one thing that unites people. You could see about each other and so forth. So it was always a privilege to do that work. In the late 90s, Knight Ridder, which had a great reputation, and deservedly so, nonetheless, was a business. And you either make more money or make as much money by getting more revenue in or cutting things. And by that time, it was tougher, and Knight Ridder decided that it needed to cut this, this, and this. And ultimately, I decided in the middle of 1998, I didn't leave until the beginning of 99, that I just didn't want to spend any more time figuring out how to cut things. And I had gotten deeply involved in the subject of early childhood and school readiness because Lawton Childs, then the governor, in 1996 asked me to lead a statewide task force on school readiness. And I had no idea, despite the fact that we have 5 children, I had no idea that of the principles behind all of that. I certainly didn't know that 85% of brain growth occurs by the age of 3. I didn't know about language development, particularly crucial in the first 18 months. I didn't know that half the children enter school, kindergarten, way behind. And so it was kind of a wake-up call, and I decided to retire as a consequence.